It is Monday night. It's December 11th, 2023. Hard to believe we're almost in the middle of the month of the last month of 2023. But here we are. Tanner Lee here, along with special co host this week, a guy who's been on the podcast a handful of times over the years. My father, I have to own him, I have to take credit for him, Arik Lee. Dad, how we doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a good sports weekend. I'm starting to have more of those
Yeah.
consistently. It's a new feeling for me.
But don't get too used to it.
Yeah, that's probably the kiss of death I just said there.
Yeah.
But for everybody wondering, second week in a row, Josh the J-Man Month is not able to join me. Hopefully he is next week. But there's a great reason why he hasn't been on the podcast, and that is we welcomed the newest member of the Tan and J-Man Show Nation to the world last week, as Josh and his awesome wife Megan had their baby daughter last week, Addie Mont. So very good reason why he's not on the podcast. He's on daddy duty. So hopefully he'll be joining us next week. But congratulations to Josh the J-Man Munt and his wonderful wife Megan. And just really cool. Really cool to see one half of the podcast become a father.
Well, yeah. Josh will be a good dad.
Oh yes, he will. He already is, but yes, he will. So
Yeah.
well, Dad, I got some birdie or bogey trivia for you this week. Like I said, Josh is 3 strokes up on me. I don't know how we'll go about that when he comes back on the pod here next week or whenever it may be, but we'll figure it out. But I do have a birdie or bogey question for you this week. Not one of my favorite ones, I got to be honest, but it'll do. Um, so Peyton Manning, pretty good legendary quarterback for the Colts and the Broncos.
I've heard of him.
Out of his 539 career touchdowns, he threw 112 of those to Marvin Harrison, 67 to Reggie Wayne, 44 to Dallas Clark, and 36 to Demaryius Thomas. So those are his top 4. Who is his number 5 guy? So who is the guy who's caught the 5th most career touchdowns from Peyton Manning?
You want this answered at the end of the show, correct?
At the end of the show. So you got all show to think about Broncos and Colts players.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's not an easy one.
Not an easy one, and maybe not the most relevant one, but Peyton will be on I assume he and Eli will be doing the Manning cast of the Titans and Dolphins game tonight, because that's the game on ESPN while the Packers and Giants are on ABC. But
they're going to somehow do both. So I don't know if they're focusing more on one than the other, but the way I heard it tonight, they're doing both.
Okay. All right. So, well, interesting week to do 2 Monday night games. I don't know what the NFL or ESPN or ABC is trying to do, but I'm sure they have their reasoning.
Yeah.
Not the best of games, really, but at least you got 2 teams. Well, the Packers are fighting for a playoff spot. Dolphins are arguably they will be the 1 seed in the AFC with a win tonight. But Titans and Giants are pretty much dead in the water. But
yeah, probably better if the Dolphins could be playing the Packers and the
yes,
Giants could be playing the Titans. So
yes, 100%. But the birdie or bogey is brought to you by, like it is every week, Arlington Public House. Arlington Public House has upscale cuisine and cocktails with a casual atmosphere. Located on 703 Main Street in Rochester, Indiana. And let me see what their weekly feature was, or their weekend feature, I should say. Dad, you venture to Arlington Public House quite often, so I know you can be a proponent of what they have. Let's see here. Their weekend special. Ooh, this looks good. It was some type of pasta. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of it because I'm going to botch it so bad. But it's classic romaine pasta with creamy and rich, featuring fresh cracked black pepper and some Romana cheese as well. So looked really good. You can go on their Facebook page and look at it for yourself. They do have a salad of the month: buffalo chicken Caesar salad, crisp romaine lettuce, Parmesan cheese, diced red onion, creamy Caesar dressing, a hand-breaded chicken breast tossed in house-made buffalo sauce, and topped with pretzel croutons. So
salad isn't even in your vocabulary.
Not mine. It is in the J Man's once in a while. I know he
Yeah.
likes a good Caesar salad, so um, but yeah, you can't go wrong with anything you get at the Arlington Public House there in Rochester, Indiana on Main Street. It is definitely upscale cuisine and a casual atmosphere, just like they say.
Yep.
So,
Good place to eat.
um, before we dive real deep into tonight's show, do you want to get educated real quick about some sporting events that have happened on December 11th?
Yeah. Give me what you got.
All right. Let's see here. Interesting one. On this day in 1934, the National League voted to permit night baseball up to 7 games per home team.
Yeah. I think a guy named Johnny Vandermeer actually threw a no hitter in one of the first night games ever for the Cincinnati Reds. So,
On this day in 1951, Joe DiMaggio announced his retirement from baseball.
okay. Yeah, he's pretty good.
He was pretty good. Uh,
Or as Josh would say, pretty good.
let's see here. You might remember this. On this day, in 1975, the Yankees made a trade with the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Yankees got Willie Randolph, Doc Ellis, and Ken Brett from the Pirates for George Doc Medich.
I think the
Remember that or
Yankees
not?
made out pretty good for that one.
I would say so too. On this day in 1981, it was Muhammad Ali's 61st and last fight. He lost to Trevor Burbick by unanimous decision in 10 rounds. That was at the Queen Elizabeth Sports Center in Nassau, Bahamas.
Yeah. I think Ali finished up something like 71-4 in his career.
Not too
Couple
bad.
of his losses came at the very, very end, like that one.
On this day, in 1989, Mark Davis signed a record $3.25 million deal per year with the Kansas City Royals.
Mark Davis.
Mark Davis, but now fast forward 34 years, and Shohei Ohtani's signing a 10-year, $700 million deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that just wild?
Yeah. Mark Davis would be living in the poverty house compared to the Ohtani.
I mean, 34 years ago, I get it. A lot has changed in 34 years, but still, I mean, it's just wild that sports contracts. I mean, baseball, yes, especially, but sports contracts in general in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when Barry Zito got a big one in the mid 2000s.
Right.
Just when you don't think it's going to be topped, it gets topped.
There could be some college boys earning 3.4 million, if they get the right NIL deal. So,
yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. supposedly you can quadruple that. So,
yeah.
Pretty crazy there. Pretty crazy. Who won the 59th Heisman Trophy Award on this day in 1993?
93. Gino Torretta?
I think he was 92.
Oh.
I think, but 93 was Charlie Ward, Florida State quarterback.
I think he had a basketball game the same night he got the Heisman, so he was on the floor for Florida State later that night, and he ended up playing for the New York Knicks. So he didn't even play pro football. So
that's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
On this day in 2000, who won the 66th Heisman Trophy Award?
2000. Chris Weineke?
Chris Weinke. Yep. Florida State quarterback as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
That Drew Brees was third. I think LaDainian Tomlinson fourth and Michael Vick fifth. So they had
it was either that or LT and Michael Vick were flipped around. But yeah, Josh Heupel was second. Tennessee State.
Yeah. Weinke actually had a good year, 1 year for the Carolina Panthers, but that was about it.
On this day in 2004, who won the 70th Heisman Trophy Award? Quizzing your Heisman Trophy knowledge tonight.
Well, yeah, and the years are really.
I know, it screws me up too. Another quarterback. I'll give you that. Another quarterback. I'll give you that much.
2004. Is that Danny Warfel?
Danny Warfel was about 97.
Okay.
How about Matt Leinart?
Okay.
USC.
Year before the Bush
Yes.
took. Yeah.
Bush. Yep. On this day in 2009, Tiger Woods announced an indefinite leave from professional golf to focus on his marriage. I remember when all that was going down. I can remember I was in the Rochester High School cafeteria when Tiger Woods was having a press conference.
Yeah. Yeah, he hasn't been quite the same since.
No, and he's still trying to make a comeback from his latest challenge, which was all injury related. So
5th or 6th comeback now.
Yep. And lastly, on this day in 2021, so just 2 years ago, who won the 87th Heisman Trophy Award?
Gosh. I could tell you who won in the 60s and 70s more than I can. 2021, so he'd be what, a third year pro now? 21, 22. No, just second year pro.
No. Not even that.
Bryce Young was 22. So whoever won it the year before him. I don't know.
It was actually Bryce Young because 22 last year was Caleb Williams.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So Bryce Young, yep. Rookie quarterback for the Carolina Panthers who probably should have taken CJ Stroud looking back on it. But
yeah, Bryce has been struggling.
He has been. And I forgot to bring the banner up, but to let everybody know that the On This Day segment is brought to you by Mooney Woodcrafts. Mooney Woodcrafts is a veteran-owned and operated woodcraft shop based out of Texas with Indiana grassroots. They provide 100% hand-cut custom designs that fit your needs, and their pieces are a great addition to any home, office, or man cave. You can see some of the recently completed project by visiting them on Instagram and on Facebook at Mooney Woodcrafts as their handle on those. And if you let them know the Tan and J-Man Show sent you, you get 15% off your order. So get those signed orders in. You probably can't get them in time to get them back for Christmas, but they make a great gift year round. So great gift for the sports fan in your family, sports fan friend in your life. Doesn't even have to be sports related. It can be family related, military related, whatever it is. Thad can make a sign of it out of wood. So let them know the Tan and J-Man Show sent you 15% off your first sign order. Well, and we talked a lot there about the Heisman Trophy. And the Heisman Trophy was decided this past weekend. Jaden Daniels, quarterback, Louisiana State University, LSU, was the 2023 Heisman Trophy Award winner. Even though his team didn't make the playoffs, and he really came on strong the second half of the year. I do think he was deserving of the Heisman Trophy. Did you have any problems with him taking home the hardware?
No, I think a lot of people probably waited to vote till the very end, to see how the whole Oregon-Washington game came out. Caleb Williams was an early favorite. Things didn't go well for him this year. So I wasn't too surprised, but traditionally it's become kind of like an MVP award in the NFL where it goes to the quarterback of the best team. Kind of reminds me a little bit about the year RG3 won, where at the very end they said, well, we look at it and this is the guy. There hasn't been anybody else that just absolutely stood out. So
yeah.
But Daniels had good numbers. But LSU, were they 10-2 or 9-3?
I think 9-3.
I think they lost to Florida State and Alabama. I can't think of anybody else that got them. Maybe they did, but it rarely goes to somebody with 3 losses. But this year it did. So he had the best statistical year, and LSU had the number 1 offense in the country. So.
Yeah, they did, they did go 9-3. They lost to Florida State at Ole Miss and at Alabama.
Okay.
Yep. So Ole Miss was a 6-point loss. Alabama was a 14-point loss, and Florida State was a 21-point loss.
Right. Michael Penix, runner-up. I think I read somewhere today where like 5 of the last 7 Heisman winners were transfers.
Yeah.
And of course, I think Jaden Daniels, he might even be a 5th-year guy.
Yeah, he's transferred from Arizona State.
Yeah. So, that does stop where it had been underclassmen winning, at
Mm-hmm.
least the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I, historically the Heisman Trophy always went to a senior. I remember when Archie Griffin won it as a junior, but that's changed particularly since the turn of the century. So a lot of freshmen. Johnny Manziel won as a freshman. So it's up for anybody these days.
Yep, sure is. Sure is. Well, I did a list of the Heisman Trophy winners that kind of I remember or I had thoughts on last week. You just said you do better. You would have done better with the Heisman trivia if it was in the 70s or 80s. Well,
Mm-hmm.
let's go through some of the winners in the 70s and 80s and tell me the first thing that comes to mind
Okay.
for you. Let's start off with let's go with 1970, Jim Plunkett from Stanford.
In those days, it wasn't the Stanford Cardinals; it was the Stanford Indians back in 1970.
And it was plural instead of singular, which is still weird to me how it's cardinal instead of cardinals.
Yeah, it was the Indians, and I can remember him playing in the Rose Bowl. He he beat out Archie Manning. Archie Manning, and a guy named Dan Pastorini went 1, 2, 3 in the draft, and then Plunkett ended up being a two-time Super Bowl champion. So probably one of the few guys to win 2 Super Bowls that's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, who? Man, that would be a great trivia question. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think.
there's not many quarterbacks that can say they've won multiple Super Bowls and didn't make it.
No, I'm trying to think of. Yeah, because all the ones that I mean, Eli, Big Ben, they're going to be.
Right. Who do you
Um,
think? Eli's
yeah,
probably not a first ballot guy, but that's up for debate, But,
yeah,
most all quarterbacks that win Super Bowls, you can name some that didn't. Like
Trent
Brad
Dilfer.
Johnson, Trent Dilfer, yeah, Jim McMahon,
Yeah,
Mark Rippon. I guess there's more than you'd think. Mark Rippon,
yeah.
but
Nick Foles.
yeah, I don't think he's heading the Hall of Fame, but
No, no.
he's got a statue though.
Yeah, he's a superhero in Eagles uniform for some reason. So,
Yeah, he was.
how about 1976, Tony Dorsett from Pittsburgh?
Oh, he was exciting. He Pitt was kind of much watched TV back in the late 70s and then into Dan Marino in the early 80s. But yeah, he was one of the first really great running backs I can remember. He was fast, still holds the record in the NFL for the longest touchdown run, 99 yards and 2 feet. So yeah, he was incredible.
I've heard of most of these guys in the 80s, but here's one honestly I'd never heard of. George Rogers from South Carolina.
Yeah, he led the NFL in rushing one time with New Orleans Saints, and then he finished up with Washington. Good player, not Hall of Fame, but I remember he had a great, obviously great year in college.
I'm going to throw three guys together because for whatever reason, I've got these guys confused over the years. Marcus Allen, Herschel Walker, and Bo Jackson.
Oh yeah, Marcus was just smooth, and USC was tailback factory in those days, and a lot of USC backs ended up winning the Heisman. Herschel Walker just burst onto the scene. It took Georgia his freshman year, clear to the championship, and then he won Heisman, I believe, his junior year.
Junior year, yes.
And Bo Jackson was, arguably the greatest athlete to play college football. He was a one-man wrecking crew for Auburn, played pro baseball and pro football, both at extremely high levels.
Oh, 1989, Andre Ware, quarterback of Houston.
Yeah. The guy who was runner-up that year was Chuck Long from Iowa. He was a boring quarterback, played for the Detroit Lions. Andre never had a good pro career, but Houston had its run-and-gun offense, and he put up ridiculous statistics.
We'll have a few more here as we get in the 90s and 2000s, a few that I didn't hit on. Ty Depner, quarterback Brigham Young in 1990.
A little bit like Ware, BYU was throwing the ball all over the place before anybody else did, and led Brigham Young to a near championship. He was he played as a backup for maybe 10 years in the NFL with the Packers mostly.
1994, Rashawn Salam, Colorado.
Yeah, they won the national championship. They beat Notre Dame. The Rocket returned a punt, would have been the game winner, and they called a penalty on Notre Dame. Salam went to the Bears. Was over 1,000 yards his first year, and then just took a dive.
Yeah.
Really not to be heard from again.
And I want to apologize for a mistake I made earlier in the pod. I said Danny Warfel won in 97. He won in 96. 97, I should have known this, was Charles Woodson. The
Oh
famous
yeah,
Woodson, Peyton Manning, Randy Moss. I think Chad Pennington was the fourth there.
Brian Leaf actually.
Oh, Ryan Leaf, not Chad Pennington.
They're they're
Ryan
they're,
Leaf.
they're,
Yeah.
they're putting a one of those. It's
30
not
for
20
30,
for
right?
yeah, 30 for 30. That was Peyton Manning's. Woodson had a tremendous game against Ohio State and a lot of eyeballs on him, but that was one of those years I felt like Manning was the guy, but he just couldn't beat Florida. That's the only team he couldn't beat. Spurrier went 3-0 against Peyton, kept him. Ironically, the year after Peyton left, Tennessee finally won the national championship with a guy named T. Martin. But yeah, Woodson, they both had unbelievable pro careers, but Peyton Manning's iconic.
And most of these other guys I've hit on, but it's amazing to go back. I can go back since 97. The Big Ten has only had 2 Heisman Trophy winners, Ron Dane in 99 and Troy Smith in 06. They have not had one since Troy Smith in 2006.
That is hard to believe.
Yeah.
Ohio State puts a lot of guys in the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Fields was, and obviously Marvin Harrison this year.
I think Dwayne Haskins was.
I think so. C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
They're represented almost every year.
Mm-hmm. So, but it's definitely quarterback, running back dominated award throughout history, and it's still amazing to me. I mean, Charles Woodson's the last defensive player to win it back in 97, but the last non-quarterback running back was Devontae Smith of Alabama in 2020.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring this up. I can't even think of the last Big Ten player that was invited to New York that wasn't Ohio State. Maybe Hutchinson got there. I don't know. From Michigan, he had
Dominican Sue did. But he was a Big 12. He was Big 12 at the time. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I do remember Brad Banks of Iowa got invited in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I believe Carson Palmer won it that year in 2002.
Brad Banks, yeah. That's right. Name from the past.
But I don't know. I don't think a Chad Henne ever got invited or any of those guys.
Yeah, I don't think Saquon Barkley was.
I don't think so. So
yeah, all the good players that Penn State and Michigan produce, you'd think one of them, maybe one of the Wisconsin running backs. I don't know if Gordon was invited.
Gordon or Ball or they had so many of them. So
right,
yeah, but it's an interesting award. It's maybe not as. I don't want to say as prestigious because I still think it's the most prestigious award in sports, individual award, but it's not viewed as what it once was, maybe just because over the past few years we've seen best player on the best team win it. But this year's different because LSU wasn't the best team. So
right, I think just my own personal view, the most prestigious awards in sports are the Heisman Trophy and maybe the Green Jacket and the Masters. It used to be the Borg Warner Trophy for the Indianapolis 500, but it's kind of lost its appeal over the past 15, 20 years.
Right. So, but very, very good stuff. You educated me on some guys, so appreciate that. And the Word Association segment is brought to you by, like it is every week, Performer Print 2 Promo Group. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company picnic, or a sales meeting, Performer Print 2 Promo Group has over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all your print needs. You need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company today by giving Barbara Van Weinsberg a call at 574-210-3815. All right, Dad. What do you want to start with? Do you want to talk NFL or do you want to talk college basketball off the bat?
Well, it's your show. It doesn't say Arik and J-Man. So.
Well, let's start with NFL then. Let's talk a little NFL. Another interesting week. Right. Week 14, which isn't in the books yet because we have 2 Monday night games, like we mentioned earlier. But once again, a week that's kind of unpredictable. We saw some upsets. And man, is that AFC wildcard race getting cluttered.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're going to have to go 10-7. It could
If
be a
not
9
11
and
and
8.
6.
Well, I don't see that. A lot of these teams
Yeah.
start playing each other. I think, for instance, the Steelers and Broncos, both 7-6. One of them's going to be 8-6, right?
Steelers and Broncos do not play, but Steelers and Colts play this weekend.
Steelers and Colts. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So one of them is going to step back. I think. I don't know if the Bengals and Browns play each other still, and I mean, there's a
Don't
lot
know
of
that.
those types of games going on. Um, the Bills have kind of reasserted themselves into the discussion. They have to get through Dallas this week. If they do, they've got the Chargers without Herbert and the Patriots. So all of a sudden, if they get by Dallas, they could be 10-6 going into last week.
The
So
Bengals play the Browns at home the last week of the season.
yeah, that could.
The Bengals schedules Minnesota at home, at Pittsburgh, at Kansas City, and Cleveland at home.
They don't have an easy game in there.
No.
And
So
I heard tonight, even though the Ravens they have the hardest schedule left in the NFL, even though they're trying to secure a number one seed.
right.
So just like Dallas, I know that's not AFC, but all of a sudden their schedule gets difficult the next 3 games. So there's a lot to be decided yet.
Sure. Well, you're familiar with the program. Josh and I do 3 winners, 3 losers.
Right.
And this year we're trying not to repeat. So if you pick a winner, I can't pick the same one. But since you're a guest of the show, I will let you pick your first winner of week 14.
Well, I'm going to say Buffalo just because they absolutely
Knew that was coming.
they had. I'm a Josh Allen fan. He gets ripped on this show a little bit, but he's got the most turnovers since 2018. But he's also played 9 more games than any other quarterback since 2018. So
Yeah,
but they had to have it, and they've lost. This is the 5th time this year they've either tied or taken the lead with under 2 minutes to go, and they were 0-4 in the previous 4 games. And I think everybody in the world thought Mahomes was going to take him down, and obviously,
at least tie it.
Yeah, and the guy was a foot off line. I also wonder what would have happened if Kelsey's backward pass would have got tipped, which it almost did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody's saying it's the greatest play. It could have turned into the biggest buffoon play of all time, too, because he had the ball around the 20-yard line, which would guarantee a field goal at worst, if that hadn't been a penalty. But, yeah, I'm going to say Buffalo just because I wasn't prepared for this, and that's who I got.
Well, yeah, that's a good one to pick. I mean, like you said, they went into Arrowhead, a place they play pretty well, though.
They've won three regular. They played each other 6 times over the past 5 years, and all of them have been in Kansas City, which is crazy. But yeah,
yep. Oh, a lot of teams you can pick for winners this week. I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys for one of my winners. I don't care for the NFC East matchups, even though last night's was 2 of the better teams in NFL going against each other, 2 rivals. So it was pretty good stuff. But the Cowboys put on the Eagles 33-13, and I don't even really know if it was that close last night. It was at Dallas, but
they owned it.
Dallas hasn't done much in my lifetime. They haven't made a Super Bowl since '95. They haven't even done much in the postseason. Haven't even seen them in a conference championship game since I've really seriously been watching pro football. But something about this team just feels a little different this year. I don't know if it's Dak Prescott playing the best football of his career. I see he is the odds-on favorite in Vegas to win the NFL MVP right now. Or if it's, their good running game with Pollard to support that. CeeDee Lamb coming on. Tight end play coming on, defense just being real strong with Dan Quinn doing a fabulous job as defense coordinator. Something just feels different this year, but it could be one of those cases too where if they have an early exit in the playoffs, they might be looking for a new head coach because Jerry might give Mike McCarthy the axe.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting if San Francisco does hold on and becomes the number 1 seed, they probably would have to play either Dallas or Philly in the next round because one of them is going to be 5th. And, usually it's 1 versus the 4 and 5. So it's kind of interesting. If you get number 1, you're probably stuck playing. There seems to be 3 teams in the NFC that are far better than the rest. and Eagles aren't playing like it either.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, I would say the Cowboys are a winner. My second winner, just off the top of my head, the Cincinnati Bengals. And maybe it's a weekly thing because they won 2 games in the last 6 days with this Browning kid who's looked good. He kind of didn't play at the very end of the game. I don't know what happened to his hand.
I hurt his thumb, so AJ McCarron had to come in.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's his left thumb, his right thumb, but they actually look like not Super Bowl contenders, but they actually look like a playoff team again.
Yeah. Yeah. My number 2 winner this week, I am going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. Even though the Rams are playing good football, the Rams gave them everything they wanted. The Rams were even hurt by a non-blocking the back call on the game-winning punt return touchdown for the Ravens in overtime. But that was one of those football games. If you don't have a dog in the fight, that was an entertaining game. Because just when it looked like the Rams are going to win, then the Ravens score. And then you think the Ravens haven't won, then the Rams, force overtime. And just back and forth. And in terrible conditions, too. Rainy, cold, and they put up 37, 31 points. And Ravens are tough, right? Ravens are tough.
Yeah, and some high-level quarterbacking in that game. Stafford was crazy good, and Lamar, he got – people were open, and he was hitting them. And that was impressive.
He's became a lot better of a pocket passer the last few years than I ever thought he would be. He's a complete quarterback, I think. I think he's one of the best ones in the league.
I actually got an update from Sean Shriver, a longtime listener of the Tan and J Man. He said that Browning was dehydrated and cramping. So
okay. That's better than his hand.
Absolutely.
His hand, so.
Yeah.
Who's your third winner for the week?
Well, I could go a couple different ways, but I'm going to go with a guy who just gets ripped, and that's Zach Wilson. Looked like a stud yesterday. We kind of wondered, like, where's this been? I mean, he looked like a whole new guy yesterday against a pretty good Houston team who may start sliding a little bit. They're starting to lose some players left and right.
Yeah. Collins going down yesterday after Dell going down the week before. It's like CJ Stroud's targets are falling left and right. He doesn't have a lot to throw to. And then CJ Stroud takes a nasty hit nasty fall from a hit and gets concussed and don't know his status going forward this week. So that's awful timing for the Texans for all these injuries. Because talk about a team who has exceeded their expectations. Rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. I think I had him winning 2 or 3 games this year. I mean, they've already won 7. So
I kind of compare them to the Colts on Andrew Luck's first year when T.Y. Hilton and Kobe Fleener, all these rookies came in, and you thought Colts are going to dominate, and it never happened, So, but it looks right now with Texans because they get a lot of draft picks next year. Could be a team that we'll be talking about for the next decade.
Yeah, AFC South has a chance with some young quarterbacks to be a really, really good division going forward.
They sure do.
Yeah. And my last winner, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns, even though I was rooting hard out of rooting interest for the Denver Broncos. I was rooting hard for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but the Browns, Joe Flacco, the old guy that was on his couch just a couple weeks ago, coming in, playing good football, making plays when they needed it. 4th and 3, converts a touchdown to David Bell, Purdue alum, getting his first career touchdown. What a time for him to get that. Yeah. And they held on by 4 points at home. And I mean, they got their remaining schedule looking forward. They are 8-5, so they have a game up on a lot of these 7-6 teams. They host the Bears Sunday. Then they play at Houston. They host the Jets and at Cincinnati. So none of those that really scare you a ton.
No, I think the Browns are going to make it. And I think Flacco has really changed the perception, because after the Super Bowl win and he called himself elite, he was always good. He wasn't elite.
That was a lucky Super Bowl run, too. If Raheem Moore bats the ball down, they don't make it. But
the guy's always had a cannon.
Yes.
One other Super Bowl he should have made, and he threw one in the corner, and a guy named Mike Evans dropped it. Not the one that plays for Lee Evans. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then the Baltimore kid, he missed a 33-yard field goal, and the Patriots and Brady went to the Super Bowl. But when Flacco was on Denver and the Jets, he was not good. So pretty impressive. It may only be a 2-game window. We'll see. But this is the year of the backup quarterback, and
it is.
He seems to be maybe the best of the bunch of the backup.
This seems to be a year. Not only, I mean, do you need to be a good team? You need to get lucky, injury wise, especially a quarterback. So,
yeah.
All right, we'll pick our losers. My first losers. There's a lot of teams I could pick from here this week too. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs, and not because they lost to the Bills by 3 points at home. I mean, the Bills are good. Still, what I think is a very talented team. Kansas City's now dropped. They've dropped 4 of the last 6, multiple games at home. But it's how they reacted after the game.
They were
Patrick Mahomes get more frustrated than we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Even in the press conference, not only his antics off on the sidelines, but in his press conference, this is not what the NFL wants. We're talking about the referees after a game. Andy Reid, a guy who barely ever says something, complaining about, oh, well, the referee didn't check with me. They usually check. There's video evidence today where Tony looked at the ref once, but then didn't recheck again. That's on him. He's clearly over the line of scrimmage. He's hiding the ball. He's so far over the line of scrimmage. That is a penalty every single day. Offensive offsides was called twice last year. It's called 11 times this year already. The refs are looking for it more now. And it's just, it felt like woe is me for the Chiefs. Okay, I'm a Bronco fan. I can't stand the Chiefs, so maybe I'm not the right person to talk on this, but I think the Chiefs have been the benefit of the whistle more times than not over the last 5 or 6 years. How about the Super Bowl? You remember Patrick Mahomes saying you can't call, everybody was saying you can't call that penalty in that situation. Yes, it was a penalty, but you can't call it in that situation. Patrick Mahomes and Chiefs were trying to say that about yesterday's penalty.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, I think they're whiny. I think the rest of the country's realizing what all of us that are fans of teams in the AFC West have been feeling for years. And call me crazy, but I think Taylor Swift could be a distraction to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, yeah, who knows? But I think the public perception of Kansas City took a little bit of a hit yesterday. They were pretty classy about the non-pass interference last week, which I think we all knew it was.
Yes.
But to me, they should have been more upset with that. This guy obviously was offsides. And if they don't call that, what do they tell Buffalo today when they're watching the review? Yep. I guess we can let people, They also said that Taylor, their right tackle, was also off the line of scrimmage too far. It could have been a double. I guess would have been the best thing if they'd have thrown the flag and the play never happened.
Yeah.
Because it was it would have been one of the top 20 plays in NFL history, so it happened. But
right.
Yeah, but I agree with you.
It's it's I don't know. Tony, man, he can't get his career on track. That guy just screws up all the time. I kind of feel bad for the guy, but he just screws up all the time, whether it's dropping balls or boneheaded penalties at bad times. So,
yeah. Well, my first loser, and we referenced Sean earlier. I know he's a big Steelers fan, but they looked bad. I always root for Mitch Trubisky. He was obviously overdrafted.
He's starting this week against the Colts. So
he was a 3rd or 4th round guy who got picked second, and he has to live up to it, and he never has. Even though he did take the
team traded up. The team traded up to get him,
and Mahomes was in that draft.
Yes, he was.
And Deshaun Watson, although that's a whole different problem. But
right.
I'd have to say the Steelers. I mean, the Patriots got a great defense, but
they do.
You can't let Bailey throw 3 touchdown passes.
No.
So
you can't lose back-to-back home games when you're in playoff contention to 2-10 teams. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. Yeah. So, one of my other losers, the Detroit Lions. They almost got nipped by the Bears and probably should have a couple weeks ago. And then the Bears put it on them yesterday, 28-13. I mean, the Lions are still 9-4, having a great season. They're going to win the NFC North. But I think they need to wake up pretty soon because they're starting to play some bad football. I mean, even in their win last week against New Orleans, I think it was, New Orleans came back. They got smacked on Thanksgiving by the Packers.
Yeah.
They haven't played good for a while. I'm hoping that trend continues Saturday night. I don't want to wake up and put a thumping on my Broncos up in Motown, but Yeah, Dan Campbell said he's going to get into the team a little bit this week, so we'll see how they respond.
Yeah, my second loser is the Chargers. They're just
Chargers get a Charger.
yeah, it's just that's a bad football team, and
They can't stay healthy, and
no,
and they're not well coached.
and I'm a big Herbert fan, but
I think a lot of people are.
I think I did hear a scout say though that Herbert lacks being able to go to a third player. In other words, yeah, and maybe that's why he holds on to the ball too long. But I was thinking this: the AFC West has really changed their identity this year. It's been a real defensive division. You thought with Herbert, Wilson, Mahomes, and the Raiders have some shiny toys on offense. That traditionally all those teams have scored. None of those teams score. The Chiefs, they've been held under 20 several times this year.
Right.
So, and the Broncos win with their defense, which has changed over the course of the year. So, and the Chargers can't score. Well, I think you said they scored 33 points in the last 4 games. It's not going to get any better with this kid quarterbacking. So
no, Easton Stick's a comparable backup.
Yeah,
I mean that's what he is. So
yeah.
My last loser, I am going with the Atlanta Falcons. Another close game they couldn't find a way to pull out. Baker Mayfield made some clutch plays for Tampa Bay, and Atlanta got down to the 5 by out of time. So
Ritter actually played good yesterday,
but my opinion on who's going to win the division for the NFC South out of the Buccaneers, Falcons, Saints seems to change week to week.
Yeah,
so it's ugly. It's ugly division. But
it's all there for Atlanta to win. They just don't seem to do it.
Yep.
And I think my last loser might be Jacksonville. It just seems like they had every chance to be maybe the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they just had a horrible 6 days. And I was glad to see Trevor Lawrence back playing, but he did not play particularly well.
I wonder if he rushed it a little bit.
Yeah, he ran the ball though with his ankle. He could hardly walk the other day, but he ran the ball a lot. So yeah, I think he was healthy enough to play. But
yeah. Well, do you have some picks ready for week 15 by chance?
I did do that.
All right.
All right.
Well, Josh whooped me in the picks no matter what happens in the Monday night games. I think I only had 35 points or so coming into the 2 Monday night games tonight. I did horrific this week. Okay. It was my season worst. So Josh did whoop me. I think he's whooping me in the season standings now too. But which he'll send me the picks for the graphic later this week so everybody can see on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, which you can like us and follow us at Tan J Man Show if you haven't already. You can see his picks later on this week. But starting with the AFC West matchup on Thursday night, the Chargers at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, Alan Kirk did another great one. I got the Raiders for 2.
I have the Raiders for 3. I mean, I know we're both big Aiden O'Connell guys, even though that pains me because he's on the Raiders, but he hadn't been playing the greatest. Their whole team just doesn't look that great. I mean, they lost 3-0 to the Vikings yesterday. What a horrific offensive display that was overall. And but Easton Stick making a road start. I like the Raiders.
Yeah.
Speaking of those Vikings that won 3-0 yesterday, they are one of 3 Saturday matchups this weekend. Minnesota at Cincinnati Bengals.
I got the Bengals for 5.
I got the Bengals for 4. So we're right there. I think the Josh Dobbs honeymoon is over.
Yeah.
For the Vikings.
Yeah. I think they got to go to Mullins.
I do too. The afternoon slate of Saturday games, 4:30 start here. Pittsburgh at Indianapolis.
Boy, I could see that one going, but I picked the Colts for 6.
I picked the Colts for 5.
Yeah.
So we are 3 games in a row. We've picked the same team, but point differential 1 for each. The Saturday night game, 8:15, Denver at Detroit.
Well, this might pain you to hear, but I picked the Detroit for 8 because they better get it.
Nothing would shock me in this game. I think the Broncos do get 3 of their last 4 to finish 10-7. After Detroit, they host New England on Christmas Eve. Then they host the Chargers again. Then they go to Vegas, who have had their number, 7 straight for Vegas. So I think they can get those 3. But I agree with you. I think Detroit wins this game. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe this is what I'm trying to do here. So
reverse psychology.
But I'm taking Detroit for 1 because I think it's going to be a really good game.
Okay.
Bears at Browns.
Even though the Bears are actually playing
They're
pretty
playing a
darn
lot
good
better.
football, I'm going to the Browns for 10. I can see Fields having a little trouble against that defense. Although he's wanting to play good in the state of Ohio, I'm sure.
He runs the ball well. I still need to see a little more out of his passing, to be honest. But I think he's done enough to where I think the Bears take somebody else with the number 1 overall pick and they stick with them. So I'm taking the Browns, though, for 8.
Okay.
The Battle of the Bays, Tampa Bay at Green Bay.
I'm rooting for Baker Mayfield, but I just think the Packers for 9. I can see it being cold, and Tampa's
Those Florida
pretty
guys aren't
inconsistent.
going to like that.
No.
I think Green Bay wins tonight over New York. I think they win over Tampa Bay. Jordan Love's starting to play some good football. Packers for 6.
Yeah.
The battle of what they are division rivals, but they should be big time rivals because
Right.
Tennessee, took their team. Houston Texans at Tennessee Titans.
I got the Texans for 7, and I don't know why I did that, but particularly with the injuries. But Titans stink.
I have the Texans for 7 as well. That's an assumption that CJ Stroud's playing.
Right.
If it's
Davis Mills,
Davis Mills, I'm not too confident. So
he wasn't awful last year.
No, he wasn't.
But he's not CJ Stroud.
New York Jets at Miami Dolphins.
I went ahead and went Dolphins for 14.
I went Dolphins for 15.
Because I don't know if Zach. I'm hoping Zach plays another good game, but we'll see.
Dolphins are tough at home. They're real tough at home. So, Kansas City at New England.
I put Kansas City for 16. If they're going to be anything this year, it's time to start turning around. They got a ridiculously easy schedule from here on in.
I picked Kansas City for 14, but I bet you this is a close game.
Well, we'll see. The Patriots got a good defense.
Mm-hmm. Well, and, as a Bronco fan, crazy enough, the Broncos are only 1 game out of the AFC West.
I know.
Let some craziness happen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing Kansas City holds a tiebreaker. They split, but I'm guessing Kansas City right now holds a tiebreaker. So, New York Giants at New Orleans Saints.
I think Carr's having a terrible year, but I picked the Saints for 11.
I picked the Saints for 10. So we're both right there. Atlanta Falcons at Carolina Panthers.
I picked the Falcons for 12 just because the Panthers are not good.
100% same. Falcons for 12 because the Panthers stink. Washington Commanders at the Los Angeles Rams.
I picked the Rams for 13 because I think they're better than their record. I think they're getting there.
I picked the Rams for 11. Their offense is really starting to click. So, San Francisco 49ers at Arizona Cardinals.
I picked the 49ers for 15, but the Cardinals are better with Kyler Murray. He's played fairly well.
I picked the Niners for 16. I think when they're on their A game, they're the best team in the league. 3 more here. Dallas Cowboys at Buffalo Bills.
I got the Bills for 3.
And this is going to be Tanner's book at prediction of the week. I have the Cowboys for 2. I expect this to be a really good game, maybe the best game of the week. Like I said, something's different about this Cowboys team, I think, this year compared to the last few years. And something tells me Buffalo's going to come off that high of highs of win and maybe come down a little bit.
I know they did lose 2 defensive starters again yesterday, so that'll be 6 out of their 11. But Cowboys have lost 3 road games. They're unbelievable at home. We'll see.
That's a good point. That is J-Man's book at prediction of the week, which is brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance agent Travis Watering. Travis is a multi-line agent for Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, specializing in home, auto, life, and renters insurance. He also offers annuities as well. So give Travis a call at 219-869-4561. His email is travis@infb.com. 2 more here. Ravens at Jaguars Sunday Night Football.
I got the Ravens for 4.
I got the Ravens for 9. I just think they're playing a lot better football right now than the Jaguars. And Monday Nighter, team of birds here, bird teams. The Eagles at Seahawks.
I had the Eagles for 1.
I have the Eagles for 13.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be Geno Smith or Drew Lock. And Drew Lock played all right yesterday.
He did.
But Seattle needs this one if they want to make a push for the playoffs.
Yeah, 8 and 9 might get you in the NFC. Who knows?
Yep. So, well, that was some fun NFL talk. We got about 10 minutes left in the program. Let's talk some college hoops. It's been a fascinating start to the season around the whole college hoops landscape. Nobody's really flexed their muscles as the dominant team. The Arizona Wildcats are ranked number one. There's only like a dozen or so teams left undefeated in all of Division I college basketball, which is that's a low number for it being December 11th.
And some of those undefeated teams are because they haven't scheduled anybody.
Right, Houston. Yeah. But you got to be happy like me with the Purdue Boilermakers. 9-1, rebounded real good with 2 good wins this week after the upset overtime loss to Northwestern 2 Fridays ago. They bounced back, defended home court, and beat Iowa by 19, which that score doesn't indicate how out of hand that game was. And then bounced back with a neutral court win up in Toronto against an Alabama team who might not be ranked, but boy, are they tough and talented. And Alabama shot 43 threes, hit, I think, 20 some, let 19. Alone 19, wasn't 19, hit 13 of those 19 in the first half.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you hit 13 threes in the first half, you're probably thinking, oh, we're going to be up 20 at halftime. And yet Purdue was within 2 points at halftime.
Right. And I actually was one of the more satisfying non-conference wins they've had, even though they've beaten Duke and Gonzaga and North Carolina and Tennessee over the past couple of years. Marquette, a lot of good teams. But you don't play a team that's shooting that well and is so athletic. They kept their turnovers down. They actually have one more doozy this week with Arizona. But yes. When the schedule came out, I realized that games 3 through 11, Purdue played 9 teams in a row that made the NCAA tournament. Now, I don't know if that's ever happened in the history of college basketball, to tell you the truth. And if you'd have told me that they would be 10-2 at Christmas, say they lose to Arizona and beat whoever it is they play during the week, I'd probably taken it, just because of what they had ahead of them, even though I think this is a very good Purdue team. They still have to find a consistent third guy. They got 2 studs out there in Braden Smith and Zach. And the third guy seems to change every game. Might be Lawyer one game. It might be Jones. Trey Kaufman's had a few good games. Gillis. You'd like to see one more consistent guy step up. Yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knew about the Batman in West Lafayette, the reigning national player of the year, and Zach Edey, who's even taking his game up, I would say, to another level. I mean, it's incredible what he's doing right now. I mean, he's getting 35.7 rebounds, and people are like, good game.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of what happened with Caleb Biggie Swanigan's sophomore year, where he'd go 20 points, 17 rebounds. It's like, ho-hum. I mean, it's Purdue fans. I feel like we're taking this for granted, and we shouldn't. That we should really appreciate what we're seeing, because we're probably never going to see something like this come through Purdue ever again. I mean, Zach's a special college basketball player.
He is. He's been extremely good.
But to go along with Batman, I think Purdue has found their Robin in Braden Smith.
Yeah, in some games, he only took 4 shots against Iowa.
Yeah,
and then he took 21 shots against Alabama. So, and he's a competitor. So, I'd like to see Fletcher Lawyer step up a little bit more, because he is a little bit of a defensive liability.
Yes.
But as long as they hit their free throws, 31 game season, they're going to lose a few more. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased.
Well, if they can get past number 1 Arizona, which is a huge game on Peacock, it's a 4:30 tip down in Gainbridge Fieldhouse where the Pacers play. And so the Purdue's playing at the same time the Colts are playing. It's going to be a madhouse in the city of Indianapolis for parking and just getting around the city, Circle City. But number 1 against number 3, Peacock, your subscription numbers are going way up. You got to think. If Purdue can get past Arizona, that's 3 years in a row they've not lost a regular season non-conference game.
Right. They have the longest non-conference winning streak in the country, and Arizona's second.
Yes.
So
it's going to be a dogfight. I mean, it's going to be a Final Four caliber game.
After the Purdue game, they've got Alabama and I think Creighton. So they've got some tests coming up too.
Well, I was thinking in my head, I could be mistaken. I didn't look this up, but I think Purdue's won 3 in a row over Arizona. I think the team with Dakota Mathias, Isaac Haas, PJ
Yeah.
Thompson, Vince Edwards, they beat. It was one of those tournaments, and Arizona and Purdue were supposed to be maybe the final matchup, and they were playing for like the 7th place after
Right.
both of them dropped the first 2 games. Before that was Chris Kramer on his knees in the first round of the NCAA 2007 tournament. Purdue beat
Right.
Arizona and lost to eventual champion Florida. Before that, I believe was 2001, the Wooden Classic then, which now this is the Indy Classic. Arizona was ranked number 1 in a non-ranked team starred by Carson Cunningham and Willie Dean knocked off Arizona.
Yeah, a guy named Joe Marshall had his best game.
Joe Marshall and that team had Luke Walton and Jason Gardner and Gilbert Arenas and not Damon Stoudemire, but the other Stoudemire. They were loaded.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you were talking about the Colts and the Purdue. Just an hour south of that, Indiana plays Kansas. So state of Indiana is going to be the hub of
Mecca.
the country.
It's going to be the Mecca of the college sports world, really, on Saturday. Indiana and Kansas play at 12:30 on CBS. That'll be an interesting one. Kansas is ranked number 2. Indiana did not look good against Auburn. But that place is going to be a madhouse.
Oh, absolutely. They won't have their students. Well, maybe the students will be around. Finals week is this week.
I think a lot of them would stay around for that game, but I could be wrong.
I know our company purchased like a 5-game ticket, and Kansas was one of them because I think the students, for the most part, are going to be gone. But I expect Indiana to give them all they want. I don't think this Kansas team. I've only watched them play twice.
They're not deep.
I watched them play Tennessee out in Maui, and then I saw them play quite a bit this week against Missouri. They're not super athletic like Auburn is. So Indiana, I think they'll play them tough. I think Kansas will probably end up winning by 5 or 6, but that's just my gut on that.
But looking around the Big Ten on Saturday, Purdue and Arizona play 4:30. Georgia Tech's at Penn State. Kansas at Indiana. Rutgers hosts LIU. Michigan State plays Baylor in Detroit. Michigan State really needs a win. They lost to Nebraska yesterday, so they're 4-5. Started the season ranked top 5.
And then a couple of their so-called gimmies. One of them's Indiana State, who I think is 8 or 9-0.
Yep. And Oakland, who's already beat a couple Division I teams this year.
They beat Xavier, yeah.
Got Eastern Michigan against Michigan. Who knows what's going on with Juwan Howard? A lot of rumors flying out there. That's something to keep an eye on. Ohio State and UCLA play in that big time event that has North Carolina and Kentucky in it as well. Florida A&M plays Iowa. Northwestern plays DePaul. And then on Sunday, Illinois hosts Colgate, and Nebraska travels to Kansas State. So I think, in my opinion, you can correct me if I'm wrong here before Birdie or Bogey, but I think you have Purdue, Illinois, and I'm going to throw Wisconsin on, even though they got smacked by Arizona. They're on one tier. Then below that, it drops off quite a bit below to the next tier, in my opinion.
It's still early, but yeah, that's the way it looks right now. Ohio State has a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Nebraska, you don't want to play them there.
No.
But I've been shocked how poorly Iowa's played, but I'd probably agree.
Fran needs to get his temper under control.
Sure does. And he needs to get they lost 3 games by a ton this week.
Yep.
Not used to seeing that from Iowa.
All right, back to the Birdie or Bogey question. Peyton Manning threw 539 career touchdowns. 112 of those were to Marvin Harrison, 67 to Reggie Wayne, 44 to Dallas Clark, 36 to Demarius Thomas. So who caught the 5th most touchdowns from Peyton Manning?
I have 3 or 4 guesses. I immediately thought of Brandon Stokely, but I don't know how many he would have gotten.
Brandon caught 20.
So that wasn't my guess.
No, but he was 8th. I'm just letting you know he was 8th. So I'm just letting you know.
2 others I thought about were Eric Decker and Julius Thomas. I thought of Wes Walker.
They're all up there.
I'm trying to think of another Colt that I just can't. I'm going to go with Edgerrin James.
Ed had 11. Marcus Pollard with 34.
I was thinking of Moorhead as a tight end for the Colts.
Yeah. Followed by Decker and Thomas right behind Pollard. So, yeah, tough one. Very tough one. So,
yeah.
Well, thanks, Dad, for filling in for the J-Man. Always appreciated.
No problem.
Thanks to the 10 J-Man Show Nation for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.